Remember the early days of the web? AOL software upgrades arrived in the mail on a CD-ROM. Family members shouted across the house at one another if an incoming call on the landline interrupted the painstaking 10 minutes it took to get from the America Online sign-in screen to hearing, "You've got mail," reverberate throughout the room. Recipients of multicolored chain emails, a serial killer camping out in a young girl's shower and killing her guard dog, truly pondered the threat against their luck for the next 7 years if they didn't abide by the message's command to forward it on to 7 friends. Better not risk it, we told ourselves as we quickly typed out 7 email addresses in the recipient field, and finding everything there was to know about our person online. Something anyone can do today with a few keystrokes and a credit card was a lot harder to do back then. But not for Corey. I was 15 years old. At the time, ambiguous and exotic usernames like Pina Colada 33 or Brunette Baby 87 were all the rage. Naive as we early screen name pioneers were, this anonymity was smart. Social media was in its infancy. Zanga was the go-to haven for teens and tweens to vent their angst while informing the world they were currently listening to Screaming Infidels by Dashboard Confessional. Everyone was friends with Tom on MySpace. AIM didn't exist as a standalone messenger service just yet, so it was MSN Messenger or bust. But if you had a true AOL account, like I did, you were set up with all you needed to discover this new, hyper-connected, free-for-all world of the early 2000s World Wide Web. Your own email inbox, a new page to create a personal profile, access to chat rooms on just about any topic or hobby you could possibly imagine. It was exhilarating until it was terrifying. One afternoon, I jumped into one of these chat rooms. ASL. 16, female, Boston. I watched the usual exchange between total strangers scroll across my screen for several minutes, hoping to find my opportunity to finally chime in and introduce myself. Ultimately, I got bored and left the chat without typing a word. An instant message appeared on my screen.
"You didn't say anything."
The message read,
"Why not?"
"Who is this?" I responded, confused by the username I didn't recognize.
"I'm Corey."
He responded,
"I'm 16, 8th grade in Lake Charles, Louisiana. What about you?"
16 and in 8th grade? Yikes. And yet, I was intrigued. "So, you get held back twice, or what?" I teased. And so the conversation began. We struck up a brief online friendship that afternoon. He shared a photo. Freckled-faced, brown hair. Nothing I'd rate above a 5 on hot or not. Yet, despite the friendliness, I refused to tell him where I was from or anything personal about me beyond my first name and age. I knew little about the dangers of the internet, but I wasn't dumb either. My username was a fruity drink and some numbers, right? Safe enough, I figured. For background, I did have one of those AOL user profiles. Its standard features included a profile picture and a questionnaire to fill out fun facts about yourself. My photo was one of me with several friends, with no indication of which one was me whatsoever. A few days later, Corey messaged me out of the blue.
"You're beautiful."
What?
"Brunettes with green eyes, man."
He responded, Somehow, despite my photo containing 3 other friends, he'd accurately identified me.
I would love to see you sometime.
I felt my skin prick. I politely told him something to the effect of that not being possible and quickly logged off. Friday, the following week, I was sleeping over at my best friend's house. I was logged into my account in the background as we thirstily browsed cute guys on Hot or Not. "Who's messaging you?" my friend asked. I knew. It was Corey.
Hey, you live in Houston. Your parents are James and Sarah Miller, and you live at 1655 South Grand.
You know that feeling when you're on a roller coaster during a sharp drop and your heart jumps into your throat? That was that moment. Fortunately, we managed to find that AOL did, in fact, have a block user feature that night. That was it. So long, creepy 16-year-old middle schooler with scarily good online sleuthing skills. It didn't last long. The next day, a screen name similar to Corey's messaged me. He had another account. I quickly blocked it. This happened 5 more times. I finally went dark for a while. Sure, I missed the thrill of seeing the yellow envelope appear in my virtual mailbox, but it was better than the threat of being harassed by Corey. A few weeks later, I got home from school. My little sister was a baby at the time, 14 years my junior, so she had a nanny who stayed with her during the day while my parents were at work. When I walked through the door of the kitchen, she handed the phone to me. "It's for you," she said, with a quizzical look on her face. "Who is it?" "I really don't know. Some boy with a twang in his voice. Sounds like he's from East Texas or Louisiana." Oh, God. Hello? I finally muttered into the phone.
Hey, pretty thing. It's Corey. Hey, so my friends and I are all into the show Jackass. We're thinking of making a trip over to Houston and doing some pranks around town next week. How hilarious would it be if we surprised you at your front door?
I choked out a nervous laugh. I mumbled an excuse about having a quiz the next day and quickly hung up. For the next few weeks, I slept with a knife under my mattress. I was absolutely terrified I'd wake up to this Lake Charles stranger boy on the balcony outside my window. How did he get my phone number? But just as soon as he'd invaded my sense of security, he seemingly disappeared. No instant messages, no uninvited calls to my home. The knife finally went back into its respective kitchen drawer. 2 months passed, and I felt gloriously safe until the phone rang. The first week of summer break.
Hi.
The voice said curtly. Who is this? I politely demanded.
It's me, Corey.
This wasn't the same voice I'd heard 2 months ago. That voice was dripping in southern syrup. It was young and full of mischief. This new voice was different. It was cold. It lacked any discernible accent. It was older. I was speaking to a grown-ass man.
I'm sorry I haven't been able to talk to you.
He hurriedly blurted. Why did he sound rushed?
I feel terrible, but the police came to my house. They took my computers away from me. I can't say why, but don't worry. I'll come to Houston soon.
That was the last day I used that fruity username. I deleted that account and created a new one. I embarrassingly told my parents I'd made a huge mistake. Despite having shared nothing that could have easily revealed my personal identity, even if I had, the threat back then wasn't what it was now. This was nearly 20 years ago. People simply didn't have the online presence that they do now. As a teenager, with no social media yet, I was virtually a ghost. But still, I was convinced I was somehow culpable for this stranger. This man, a predator who clearly had advanced knowledge of computers and the internet, singling me out and making it his mission to learn everything about me through whatever means possible. He was determined to get to me. I'm only grateful that even at 15, I knew better than to trust what this freckle-faced kid from an online chat room had fully benign intentions. 2 decades later, I still wonder where Corey ended up. Hopefully behind bars.